Now, for unauthorized leaving of a unit in Russia, you can get not 5 but 10 years in prison. In 4 months of 2023, Russian courts received more cases of AWOL than in the entire previous year. Now there are more than 1,000. A significant part of the sentences in cases of abandonment of the unit are suspended sentences. In such decisions, judges sometimes directly write that they leave the defendant at large in order to send him to the war against Ukraine. During the first wave of mobilization, the Kremlin faced public backlash and even open protests. Putin's election campaign has actually already begun, and so far the authorities are forced to make up for large-scale losses in the army using hybrid methods.
То заключенных, то иностранцев.
As the prisoners or foreigners, or just contract volunteers, and we also see that the authorities have prepared legislative grounds so that, if necessary, mobilization can be carried out more effectively. The authorities faced a negative reaction from the population in response to this mobilization, although by and large it did not touch any big cities, where the opinion of the population is more representative than the outskirts, from where the Kremlin in fact scraped off this human resource.
You can also go to prison in Russia for 10 years under Article 337 of the Criminal Code, failure to appear at the place of service. In the 11 months after the start of mobilization, the military courts of Russia received almost 3,000 such cases. Most ended in convictions. According to Sibir Reali, the leaders in the number of such cases are the Moscow, Rostov and Sverdlovsk regions. More and more Russian servicemen are turning to human rights activists for legal assistance with the question, how can I quit the army?
Growth is exponential. Until September last year, there was a loophole. You could declare your beliefs and on this basis retire from military service. Not a refusal to comply with the order, but simply a demand for dismissal. And this was at least some way out for those who do not want to fight, but it was blocked in September with tougher punishment. They put up a dam. It held back for several months, but then it burst, because people do not want to fight. They want to leave slowly. The dam begins to erode. Sergei Krivenko, director of the human rights group Citizen Army Law, from the publication of The Current Time.
The Russian military is increasingly voluntarily surrendering or going over to the side of Ukraine. This is proven by the recent special operation of the main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Russian pilot Maxim Kuzminov flew to Ukraine in a military helicopter and handed it over to the armed forces of Ukraine. He called the Russian army's attack on Ukraine a big mistake.
У нас есть подразделения.
We have units that are made up of former citizens of the Russian Federation and even current citizens of the Russian Federation who condemned the criminal war of Putin's Russia against Ukraine and today are fighting with weapons in their hands against the Putin regime and for the freedom and independence of Ukraine.
For those Russian military personnel who do not want to become war criminals and die in Ukraine, there is a state project of the Coordination Headquarters for the treatment of prisoners of war I Want to Leave. Thanks to this program, thousands of Russian military personnel surrendered and saved their lives. Reported by Serhiy Kulias, Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.